beginning to get underway. Now, the race itself is anticipated to be under dry, although somewhat cloudy conditions, meaning that all the tire choices are going to be open to everyone to choose whatever in the world they decide to want. The one-stop strategy meme that had dominated the very early parts of XRRL has now died. We saw that very plainly last week. So we are back to having events where 2 or 3 stop strategies may indeed be the way to go. As we're preparing to load up here into Australia. We also, before we get too far into this, we want to go ahead and spend a minute in silence as one of the 2 head monarchs of Great Britain has passed away over the week, and we wish to hold a moment of silence. So we're going to go ahead and hold a minute of silence, just standing by in mourning and respect for Great Britain. And before we do that, I just want to make it very clear, this may be an international series, and I may not be British myself. However, the series is hosted primarily by Britishmen, and there is a vast majority of British drivers in this series. That is the reason why we're going to be doing it. It's also just a matter of respect. So we will be quiet for a minute here in the broadcasting booth in respect. We anticipate that we will be getting underway properly in a short period of time. Alright, we will be getting underway very shortly here. Now, real quickly, before we get too far in, at some point when the race is a little bit cooler, I will go ahead and go over the standings, but as it stands right now, it's still Danny JJ802 who is leading the points with 98. His biggest rival is Ryan Hurricane with 88 points, and then XRRL Zola who has 71 points. Everyone else is 57 points out or more. Ledger, Venom, and Elfin Starfish all have yet to earn points in the series itself. As we are preparing to get the race underway here, for those of you who are back, we want to thank you for being back, as we're about to get the race underway after a complete lobby crash at the end of Q3. But it is lights out, and away we go here, and Trap Alos is going to have to hold off MCR Path without too much of an issue. In fact, it's going to be Venom and Ollie who are flying up the order. They benefited massively because they're still going to get a start 3rd and 4th despite crashing out of the session. And there is big carnage in the back of the field. Lots of wing bits and flying all over the back, but it looks like everyone is still going irregardless. Oh, and PPR Venom has had an incident. PPR Venom has gone off the circuit. And that is not going to do very much good for the driver in the AlphaTauri. MCR Path, though, is trying to make a run on Trap Palos at the top here. You can see right now everyone's tires that they're equipped with. Everyone's running medium or soft tire compounds for the start of this race. A very interesting decision, but it is one that they're making there regardless. And BCN has now had an incident. So the Mercedes continue to struggle here. And look at this here. Ultimate's going to lose position to Wax and Davis John as they're going through these last 4 corners. Wow, look at that, BT throwing it up the inside of Ultimate. So now Ultimate drops to 15th as the BT goes up into the 14th position. There's a yellow flag in Sector 2, but there's nobody there. That's very weird. But everyone from about 8th on back is running nose to tail, and now Ultimate's going to come into the pits to repair wing damage that is on that car. Lots of leaves blowing around on the circuit. It is currently autumn in Australia right now. Another yellow flag in Sector 2, despite the fact that nobody is there. And another one, but no one is in Sector 2. And yet, for some reason, we'll keep getting word that there are yellow flags in Sector 2. I do not understand what is going on. Edgar has caught Ollie and is now working on him right now. BT has a time penalty already. It's very interesting. But Edgar slugging away on Ollie, but Ollie knows that the battle will eventually go in his favor. Oh, and something has happened to Venom. Venom has gone around. Oh, and BCN has had another incident. There's no damage on the car, but he has had an incident. And the game does not seem to be updating the gap between Trap Palos and MCR Path right now. Path does not have any chance of trying to run down Palos, but yet the game continues to think that he's only about 33 thousandths out from him. We'll quickly change it to the leader interval, and that seems to improve some aspects of it. Why are you keep throwing yellow flags in Sector 2, game? I do not understand why. There's nobody in Sector 2. But you're doing it irregardless. It is the dumbest thing I think I've seen in a while from this game. Mr. Anderson is going to get shot down in front of by Zola. He still has Collie Boy right behind him trying to make something happen. Stop it with the yellow flags in Sector 2, game. I swear to God. So yeah, so right now this entire lobby is very, very glitchy on my end. We're just going to have to try and make things happen. Oh, and Kinsey Retro has had an incident. Kinsey Retro has had an accident there in Sector 1, and it's right in the middle of the racing line. I can't see the damage very well, and that's going to be a virtual safety car. Not a full course, but a virtual safety car, and our first dropout of the day will be Kinsey Retro. Alright, and here we are coming into the broadcast booth. That is Kinsey Retro. Kinsey, go ahead, include your audio. What happened there at the end of Sector 1 to take you out?
Simple answer, too much curve, a bit too much speed going into the corner, lost the back end, and there was just not much room to correct it.
Alright, well, notice that you were struggling in Q1, wasn't able to make it in Q2, and now an instant here at the late in the event, but do you think you may have a better chance going forward to the next events?
I should do. I've got a good race engineer to be able to help me with optimizing my setup, optimizing my strategy, and hopefully we don't have a repeat of what happened here tonight.
Alright, very well, thanks very much. Also, I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. If you want to be in the booth with me for the rest of today's event here, I'm perfectly fine with that. But if not, I'm fine with that also. So I just want to throw that offer out there.
Yeah, sure, why not?
Alright, real quickly, we're looking at a large train of cars going from Elfin Starfish all the way back to your teammate, Kenzie. That's Collie Boy, so a train of about 5 cars. DRS has not been re-enabled yet. Collie Boy at the back of this train currently has a time penalty against him as opposed to the drivers ahead, so he's in the losing position in this 5-car battle at the moment.
Yeah, Venom just picked up another 3-second time penalty. Meanwhile, we've got sort of like a small DRS train. Path, Ollie, Edgar, and Low all battling for second place. Path just getting the fastest lap of the race so far, 1:27.2, and Trap responds with a 1:26.8.
It's very interesting how Trap is continuing to go faster and faster early on, despite the fact that the load and the fuel is very, very heavy and the tires aren't going to last super long. Actually, that's something I do want to ask you, since you have a little bit of experience. What can we be looking at when it comes to life of the tires for the soft, medium, and hard compounds here?
Well, if you're very good with your time management, you could stretch the mediums as far as 35 laps, and then on lap 35, lap 36, come in for the softs, but realistically, in order for that to work as best as possible, you're going to realistically need a couple of safety cars to be able to stretch the mediums and the softs as long as you can. So the optimum strategy here would be mediums to hards.
Alright, well, quite a few drivers started on the medium tires, but nobody chose to start on the hards, and there is a BT, and a BT has gone off circuit there in Sector 2. I don't see any damage to the car, but it looks like he's ran wide and may have touched the outside wall.
Yeah, I think he may have overcooked his tires in the process, so he'll need a couple of corners to cool them down at the same time.
Edgar has DRS on Ollie, but it's that classic DRS train that you mentioned earlier, and Ollie seems to actually have more straight line speed. He was pulling on Edgar, despite the fact that Edgar would have had DRS on 2 cars ahead of him. So right now it looks like the AlphaTauri much better set up for the straight line speed.
Yeah, but of course this is one of those tracks though that straight line speed isn't going to be the best thing in the world to have. You need to get that balance of straight line speed and the cornering speed at the same time.
And it's very, very plain as we see Edgar close the gap right back up on the AlphaTauri in just a few corners here, and already he's looking at the inside, thinks about making a move, abandons it very quickly though, so Edgar will hold on to his 4th place position.
Yeah, not the most optimal place to be able to go for an overtake, but he is going to have the DRS straight coming out of the infamous Turn 12 Ultimate being the first name on that list of victims at that corner.
Hazel!
Oh!
Hazel very nearly got turned, trying to make a dive bomb on Elfin Starfish, and now Ryan Hurricane is closing in on this battle.
Yeah, Hazel trying to work his way past Starfish right now. Starfish still not able to get back into the lobby. Hopefully he manages to get back in at some point. Hazel does get through with ease, and Hurricane is about to get through as well. Indeed he does, and he can start hunting Hazel down for 12th place.
Gaps throughout the field are beginning to open up just a bit. Big thing is that Path has actually gradually lost contact with the Renault of Trap Paulos, and he is falling into the clutches of Ollie and Edgar behind him.
Yeah, despite both being on the same set of tires, Trap and Path are, Path can't seem to make it count when he needs to, because Trap is starting to pull away. But the Delta isn't exactly updating at the moment. The Delta says it's still a second between Trap and Path, but it's going to be at least a second and a half by now. We'll see what happens should it decide to update, and it still doesn't decide to update. That's a little concerning.
Mine's been all over the place also, and before the virtual safety car that you brought out, my thing kept flashing out saying that there were yellow flags in Sector 2, despite the fact that no one was in Sector 2 at the moment, and it did that like 8-9 times in a row. This game is very much esports ready, as they say in the Forza community.
Yeah, I swear on my life, Codemasters either need to fix the servers or get new servers for F1 2021. Otherwise, we're going to have issues.
Currently watching a battle for the lower position in the points, and this is between Collie Boy and Jay Biscayne for 9th and 10th right now. Jay Biscayne, the Renault, has DRS that will bring him a little bit closer to Collie as they enter Sector 1. However, you run right into a 90-degree turn 1 and then a technical middle speed corner turn 2. Kind of like the first few bits at Catalunya. It makes it very hard to keep close to the driver ahead of you. Ooh, Collie gets really, really sideways in the Red Bull there.
Yeah, of course, I say they're both battling for those last 2 points. Pay positions. Venom's gone! Venom's gone. That was in the final sector. Another virtual safety car. That was like turn 13, turn 14.
And it looks like it's the same thing that we saw happen to the Mercedes throughout qualifying. Running a little bit wide, coming onto that corner. You get your tires into the dirt, and you overcorrect and turn the car right into the wall and destroy the machine. We're going to try real quickly and get Venom in here and see if he wants to share what happened to him.
And Coley, bizarrely, Coley ended up with a 3-second time penalty. Bizarrely, and oh, he's gone! How on earth has he done that?
I don't know, but it's right there, just off the racing line. That's not good. Elfin Starfish needs to be very careful coming up. He sees it, and boy, Steel comes very close. So Venom, go ahead, include your audio. Venom, what happened? Can you get your teammate in here? At Curiosity, Kenzie.
I'll see what I can do. A BT, meanwhile, has just got a drive-through penalty for speeding
really
under the virtual safety car. Not what he would have needed.
Twitch stream while we started the race. So came back to the race going into turn 1. Already lost position, so was going side by side with Edgar in the racing point. Went side by side into turn 3. Came out of the corner side by side. I think I lost him a little bit out of the exit, and then tried going side by side into turn 4, and I should have backed out. Hit the curb too much, spun the car, and then broke my wing on the wall. Tried staying out, pitted a few laps later after giving myself more wing damage. Pitted for a fresh set of mediums, and then just spun on the exit curb a few laps later.
Alright, very difficult time, Venom. You had saved a lot of positions by being able to start in the top 4 rather than outside of the top 8. It's a shame to see it all go away. Out of curiosity, do you think that your teammate Ollie has any chance of catching Trap Paulos?
Personally, I do not. Trap, I think, isn't too high of a car for his skill level. He needs to be brought down at least 1 or 2 cars, because his pace right now is unreal. I mean, he's almost untouchable.
Alright, well, there's the word from PPR Venom. Thanks very much for going ahead and sharing your audio here and telling us what happened in your very short-lived race today.
No problem.
Meanwhile, on the track, Ollie is closing in on MCR Path. He's within striking distance, but there's a difference between striking distance and then actually having the ability to make the overtake happen. Of note, though, Ollie actually just set a purple sector 1, so he is definitely going nice and fast despite not having fresh air on the front wing of his Alpha.
Hazel, meanwhile, just got ahead of Wax into the. They're actually having a good ding dong battle here for the last point paying position. Hazel takes advantage. Wax has got Hurricane right behind him. Can he keep him behind as Hurricane tries to go around the outside, heading into the chicane of turns 9 and 10, and I think Wax has just managed to keep him behind.
Wax is abusing all the track limits, and then every now and then he's dipping 2 tires into the grass, being very, very extreme with his defense, but honestly, I don't think that you can drive like that this entire time. Wax needs to calm it down, or he's going to end up in a wall or deep into the grass here.
Yeah, and we've seen that happen on a number of occasions tonight, not just in qualifying, but throughout the race already. And we're only on lap 11. We've already lost 3 cars, one of them being myself, Venom, and my teammate Coolie Boy, unfortunately.
Seems like my intervals have updated a little bit now. Path is now being shown at about 1.5 seconds out from Trap Paulos with Ollie. Still hanging out about half a second or so behind the Williams at the moment.
And
Ooh, and Ollie just went around. He saved it though. Impressive job. Didn't anticipate you being able to save a spin like that, but he drifted it Formula style. There's a Williams that's gone around, and that is Ultimate. And Ultimate, the other Williams on track, he has gone around there in the back of the field. He's 15th, and now he will have the Mercedes of BCN closing in. That's a safety car. A full course safety car has dropped for... So a full course safety car came out for Ultimate spin, but when you and Venom had a complete race-ending accident, it was just virtual safety car. Perfect sense, game. Perfect sense. Kenzie seems to have just been drop kicked from the party. Don't know what happened there. Kenzie, you okay? This will likely be a very long yellow flag because BCN, Ultimate, and a BT are all still on pit lane while the leaders are coming through Sector 3, the last 4 corners right now. So yeah, it's going to be a long time until 15, 16, and 17 properly catch the back of the field. Maybe you can explain this to me because this happens every now and again, and I still wonder what the heck's going on. So you had a race-ending accident. Venom had a race-ending accident. Virtual safety car. Ultimate spun, kept going, full course yellow with full safety car. Why? Okay. I will admit I'm more on the American open wheel side, IndyCar, and the old kart series. That's more of my wheelhouse than Formula 1. So I thought maybe there was some specialized rule I missed or something, but okay. Alright, but anyways, this is going to be interesting because now Path has put on medium tires. His mediums are going to be relatively fresh compared to Ollie, who's ahead of him. And then Trap Paulo still has softs, but there's 12-lap worn softs. So Trap's tires are going to start falling away from him in the next few laps. This is going to be Ollie's best chance to make something happen. And then if Ollie can get by Trap soon enough, Path will have a chance to further and possibly hammer in against the Renault of Trap. Rear of the field still hasn't properly caught up, and we anticipate we'll take another lap. So real quickly, I'm going to go ahead and go through the drivers' point standings as they stand right now. From the bottom, Ledger, Venom, and Elfin Starfish all have yet to earn points. Level 6 BCN and Smoothie 25 both have 3 points each. XRL Herbie has earned himself 11 points thus far. MCR Path has 13 points. XRL Ollie has 15. Young Maneuver still has the 18 points he had from those good runs early in the season. Then 10th is you, Kinsey. You have 25 points right now, 4 points out from XRL Steel in the Mercedes. XRL Ultimate is 8th on the point sheet. He has 38 points in that Williams. XRLO is just one more, 39 points. Then the Alfa Romeos come. Wax has 43 points. Hazel has 53 points. Fourth in the point standings right now is Pinkwa with 57 points. Zola has 71 points. Ryan Hurricane has 88 points. And Danny JJ02 has 98 points. And when we look at the Constructors Championship, Alfa Romeo continue to be at the back with only 32. Mercedes has 40. Williams has 60. AlphaTauri has 63. Your team, Aston Martin, has 64, boosted massively by that second place run you had a few weeks back. Racing Point has 81 points. McLaren has 83 points. Renault is third on the Constructors Championship with 93 points. Haas has 96, and Scuderia Ferrari still has 116 points. You probably won't be in it at the end of today's race, though. Alright, there's the word. Everyone got very nicely spread out from about third on back. In fact, I would say even second on back, everyone got really nicely spread out, so no massive instance right at the start, it would appear. Ollie is already putting his machine to work on the Renault of Trap Paulos at the front, though. The field's already gathered back up, at least in the mid and back of the field. And it's very interesting, it's very quickly we see a massive gap forms between Lowe and Wax. Now, Lowe does have the soft tire compounds while Wax is on worn mediums, but it seems like there's very much a difference between the speed of the top 5 drivers and everyone from 6th on back right now. is the second instant that we've seen thus far with Starfish not being able to be properly connected. Davis Gone has just... Oh, and there goes Hazel, and Hazel's gone around, and Ryan Hurricane spears him in the side. And something else that I want to know is what is going to happen in these top 5 positions once DRS starts coming into play, because Ollie is still within the second of our current race leader. Oh, and Hurricane is throwing on the hard, so he might be trying to make these laps go until near the end of the race. Then he'll probably stop in the last 8 or so laps, throw on some softs, and just try to put down fastest laps to the end. Ollie made a dive bomb! Ollie just hit a Trap in the rear tire with a huge dive bomb there. Trap's going to keep the Renault ahead, but Ollie is doing everything he can so that way he can utilize DRS when it comes available to make a move for the lead. Yes, needs to stay within a second so he can utilize DRS, but here's the thing, just being able to utilize DRS means nothing. You need to be able to utilize it to set up a good dive into a corner. There's the word, DRS is enabled. And here's the other thing, as these two are battling, it's holding each other up just enough that it's keeping Path, Edgar, and Lowe all right there, ready to capitalize, although Lowe is beginning to slowly drop off the back of this train. And Trap is in a very unique position because he is on worn softs, and by this point the softs are definitely going to start falling off and dying on them, while Ollie will still have several more laps of use. Edgar is all over the rear gearbox of Path. I say rear gearbox as if there's a front gearbox. He is all over the gearbox of Path right now. Path seems to be holding back right now. He just wants the top two to make a mistake so he can capitalize. The thing is, by doing so, Edgar continues to be putting pressure on him. Interesting thing, Ollie is within. Oh no, Ollie took the lead. Yep, Trap has pitted out of the top spot. So he squeezed out every bit that he can from those tires. But now the thing is, where is Trap going to come out in relation to the other drivers? On one hand, he has jumped onto mediums. He can make these mediums last for a long time. He's probably going to go for a soft, medium, soft run today. So he'll be good for a little bit. The thing is, a lot of the other drivers who are on mediums are in a position where they can run for a long time still on them. Ollie is really the only exception, as he has now taken the lead. A little bit farther up in the field, Davis John is right there alongside Wax, now overtaking Wax. So the other Renault is making moves. Edgar is now dropping off the lead trio of cars as Lowe is putting heavy pressure on Path. Path may have DRS on Ollie. Lowe doesn't care. He's going to throw it up on the inside, but he throws it up a little too aggressively and runs the Williams off the circuit, and now Edgar makes contact with Path. And now, don't look now, but in 5th position, it's your points leader, Danny JJ. He's kept his nose relatively clean thus far, not been in that lead train most of the day, but because of all the slathering around and battling they've been doing on the circuit, Danny has that Renault in 5th position, in position to overtake the slightly wounded Williams of Path. Davis John has just overtaken Anderson as well. Neither the Williams or the Mercedes team seem to be having a good time, and this comes into the issue of what you have when you put the fastest drivers in the slowest cars and the slowest drivers in the fastest cars. The Mercedes drivers have had a very, very difficult time this entire season properly extracting ability from the cars, while the Williams drivers, while they may be some of the fastest in ability, they're trying to make these machines do something that they really can't do, and they're over-pushing, overtaxing stuff all the time. One other thing to consider, our top 3 drivers all currently have time penalties against them. Path and Danny do not. So if the race was to end right now, Path and Danny would more likely take over the overall lead of today's event. Ultimate's not called Ultimate for nothing. Well, I mean, in a sense, Ultimate's considered one of the best drivers in the field, but you can't really do much if you're stuck in the middle of the traffic all day long and you can't get a good feel for the car, especially when it's the slowest car in the grid right now. Also, don't look now, but Trapp is beginning to make his way up to the field. He's already gotten by a BT, and he's now starting to set his sights on Zola and Wax. Those two are fighting for 8th and 9th position right now, so those are points-paying positions right now. Wax is on significantly worn medium. Zola only has 10 laps on his. An ultimate's just been knocked out. But we tried. Zola very nearly ran right into the back of Wax. He did not anticipate Wax to jump onto the brakes as hard as he did. And now Trap is already walking away from everyone else. So move Trap up into 8th. His Renault teammate Davis Cohen is currently up in the 6th position. I saw something. No, I didn't. This is very interesting. So Danny has overtaken MCR Path. He's currently about 5 seconds, though, out from 3rd place, and the top 3 all still have time penalties. Edgar is in a position where he has the best tires of the top 3. However, he is putting more wear on them because he has caught behind them. The aero wake is going to cause him to chew up the rubber on those front tires very quickly. Lowe has the fastest tires, but they are pretty much past their peak, and they're going to start wearing away farther and farther. Ollie has the oldest tires, and while they're still okay for now, they're not in a very good position by any means. Path has elected to come into the pits. Oh, and Anderson just dumped him! Anderson just went right in the back, and Trap has gone around! And it's right in front, and Zola hits him! I don't see any damage on Zola or Trap's car. The thing is that Trap is now going to have to go and overtake Wax again. Well, he made no work of that whatsoever. He's already side by side, and he's going to get right by him without too much of an issue. Okay, but he did lose a significant amount of time on track, and that's going to be what the other leaders are going to be having to see. But Trap is not, considering that Trap knows he's almost a second faster than everyone else in pure lap time. Edgar is now second, about a second out from our current race leader, Lowe, and Edgar is in the position where he can stay out a lot longer than Lowe can, so Edgar will more likely inherit the race lead very shortly. Danny is now up in the 3rd position. Davis Kahn has overtaken Ollie because Ollie is still in the pit lanes, and we will see the Ferrari of Mr. Anderson overtake the AlphaTauri as well. Here comes Trap Paulos. Trap, despite having his instant, is already right back on the rear gearbox of Ollie. Ollie has fresh tires, though. Trap has some wear on the tires. I don't think the Renault driver cares. He's going for it. He's going to make the lunge and almost hits him, but thinks better of it. I will say this, when Ultimate came into the pits to retire, the game didn't take his car off, and the car continued down pit lane, came onto the track, and then just coasted to a dead stop in that bit in Sector 1 before despawning. I wonder if the game is having trouble understanding that Ultimate is gone. Trap has lost a significant amount of time to Ollie right now, though. Hazel has dropped out. Hazel has crashed out, actually. Hazel has crashed out, and that's a full course safety car. We're going to try and invite Hazel in here and see what happened. But it looks like today's Australian Grand Prix is sponsored by rat poison, as we have seen drivers just slowly drop off one by one. I was thinking more of the one used in Flowers in the Attic myself, but... Alright, Ryan Hurricane is coming in, as is Elfin Starfish right now. I'm going to be interested to see if our race leader, Lowe, decides to come in. He is currently still at the front of the field. Lowe has very worn, soft tires. I can't think of a better time to jump on than now. But if you were in Lowe's position, Kinsey, would you jump onto the mediums or jump on the hards to the end of the race? Well, we see him coming in now. Edgar is going to follow him in. And our points leader is going to go back into the lead of the race. He is elected not to stop. Jabez John is coming around. He is fourth. Will he come into the pits? Yes, he will. Ollie has fresh tires. He won't have to worry about it, so Ollie's going to jump up quite a bit. Trap Paulos will also stay out as well. It's going to be very interesting because now Trap Paulos is trapped behind Edgar once more. Ollie is on fresh softs. Our race leader, Danny, has 15 lap-worn mediums. Lowe has fresh mediums. So it's going to be very interesting because Lowe and Ollie are both going to be much faster than Danny very quickly. And here's another thing to throw some chaos into this. That is level 6 Beastian. His car is the one who's positioned right in between the two leading McLarens. That's MCR Path, who has now found himself back up into the 9th position after losing part of his front wing earlier. But with the field gathered up, as long as he can avoid accidents, this may be the good, perfect opportunity for him to start moving back up. And for the Mercedes driver of XRRL Steel, he's been outside of the points for most of the day. He was up into the 10th at one point, but had to jump into the pits. Now the field's gathered up. Thing is that Steel has worn softs. Everyone around him is on fresh mediums or fresh softs, so it does not look like this day is going well at all for either of the Williams drivers. We anticipate we'll go green coming on to lap 29 right now. Starfish and Ryan Hurricane are coming into the last two corners now. So yeah, I imagine the Haas and the Ferrari there in 13th and 14th will catch up to the field by the end of this lap. So yeah, so this is going to be very interesting. Something else to take note of, Wax elected not to change tires. He is staying out there on his worn mediums, and he will restart 7th, so that might cause a bit of a bottleneck behind him. Thing is, Mr. Anderson right ahead has 16 lap worn mediums, as does Zola, who's right behind him. So I think we're going to see the same thing we saw earlier, where the top 5 kind of run away from everybody else. Steele currently has more penalties than anyone else on the track. Steele has 14 seconds worth of penalty. And at the front, Lowe has 6 seconds, Ollie 9 seconds worth of penalties, and Edgar also has 6 seconds worth of penalties. So it seems like today, if you get one penalty, you're likely to get a lot more. Alright, one other question quickly before we come to the green. So, when drivers have these penalties against them, can they elect to have them taken off by just stopping in the pits and having no work done on their car for like a 3 or 6 seconds or something to get part of those penalties removed? Okay. That irks me just a bit. And that was very interesting because Beastian decided to stop to let the field by right in that little chute between those last two corners. That backed up Low and everybody else, and that's why everyone else... Ooh, and already a BT has gone around. A BT has gone around there. He's turned the car and he's facing the right way again, but a BT has spun himself around coming out of turn 3. Javis John. There's significant front wing damage. That's basically got a 1970s era Formula 1 front wing now. Edgar now has a time penalty for track violations. As I'm riding on board with Path as he is running down on Zola and Wax, Ollie has just gotten by Low. And Low goes around. Low saved it. But Low is now holding up Trap Paulos, and Paulos is just kind of like, why? Why am I so much faster than everyone else, but everyone is having their instance right around me? Path has overtaken Wax. Edgar is in a very good position right now. He is hanging just a little bit more than a second out from the bow for a lead. Ollie is on softs and is running down Danny as fast as he can. So Danny, despite having that great start, because everyone else was held up by lap traffic, Danny has very worn mediums, and he just does not seem to have the same pace that the likes of Ollie, Edgar, Low, or Trap has had today. And it's showing very quickly. And now it's Edgar's chance. Edgar is going to be within a second of Danny when they come to the next DRS straight, assuming that the Tracing Point driver makes no serious issues. So Danny will likely fall through the field. But here's the thing, this is still great because Danny has basically been given an artificial boost. And as long as there's not another full course yellow, Danny might be able to finish 1 or 2 spots higher than where it was initially planned to. That will be huge for helping him extend his points lead. Has gotten by Anderson, so move Path up into the 6th position. he is still a long ways out from Trap Palos. My board isn't telling me exactly what the second is, but I'm counting here about 3 seconds out from the Renault. And I want to give credit to Lowe. Lowe has done an outstanding job keeping that Renault behind him. So it seems like in clean air, no one can touch that Renault that Trap is driving. But when it comes to some dirty air and some good driving, you can keep that Renault behind for sure. Danny needs to get rid of his tires quite yet. As long as he's able to keep roughly a 3-second gap over his teammate Lowe, he can keep running these tires as long as necessary. The later and later he pushes this final pit stop, the more likely it is that he can just jump onto some softs and go hardcore balls to the wall to the end, maybe throwing his hat into the ring for fastest lap of the race. We know those Renaults are extremely fast and capable around here. Davis and Trap both made it into Q3. In fact, not to mention, all the Renault-powered cars made it into Q3. So the Renault engines are very capable and very strong here today. I don't think there's... this is just me. Looking at how this race is playing out, I don't see any way that Ollie is going to win this race. I think right now, if we don't have anything crazy happen, I think this race is going to go into either Edgar's favor or Trap's favor. Beastian's just got a penalty for track violations. Trap has speed enough that if the tires don't die completely on by the end of this race, Trap might be able to leapfrog Edgar by not having as many penalties. Edgar might win otherwise. Ollie cannot make those softs last to the end. Or maybe he could, but he'd be so much slower that there's no way he'd be able to hold on to the top spot. Danny is going to have to pit as well. So I think right now the battle on track for a race win realistically is between Edgar and Trap. Oh, and Abeti has dropped out. Ooh, Abeti's car completely destroyed there. We're going to try and invite Abeti in and see if he wants to share what happened to him in that shunt. Wax is going to have to pit at some point, but Wax might try and make those mediums last as long as possible, then jump onto softs closer to the end of the race. It would be a very strange strategy, but we know that the one-stop doesn't really work anymore. And here we are, coming back to the green already. Trap is now closing in on Danny right now. The gap between them is roughly 2.1 seconds. Meanwhile, farther back in the points battle lower in the field, Hurricane is running down Wax. Hurricane has worn mediums, but they're nothing compared to the wear that Wax has put on his own. It will be a battle for the 8th position. Also, Steel has gotten back into the top 10. Steele is pitting now. Next battle I imagine we're going to see shortly is going to be between Elephant, Starfish, and Zola for that last point pain position. Oh, and Low! And that's Low! Low has just crashed out. That McLaren is destroyed. Ollie and Trap Paulos both elected to stay out on the racetrack. And they both are in worn tires. I don't see this working out well for either of them. You want to know who this really helps? Your points leader, Danny. Yeah, it's 22 laps to go right now, and I imagine we aren't going to go green until about 20 to go. Everyone, Starfish is still on the softs he's been on for a while, so Starfish I don't imagine will make those softs last to the end. Zola is honestly the only driver I think who is in a position where he can push right to the end. I think Danny, Path, and Edgar will all have to conserve their tires a bit, either at the start or at the end of the stint, because their tires, although they can make it, will definitely be squealing out in pain over those last 5 laps. Oh, there we are. Our leaders are coming in. And this means that Path is going to end up in second. It's been all over the place for the Williams for Path today, but he might be able to make something of it. Steele has found himself back in the top 10 as well, and he's on mediums that he can push to the end. So as long as nothing bad happens to Steele, Steele might bring home a small chunk of points for the Mercedes team. And then Wax is on fresh sauce, Hurricane is on fresh sauce, Starfish is still on warm sauce. He's going to have to pit at some point to the end. I don't see any way he can make those sauce make it to the end. Path is on fresh sauce, and Danny is on fresh sauce. So I think the battle for the win now has turned into Danny versus Path versus Zola. But then again, we saw Trap Paulos tear his way up through the field earlier. He might be able to do that again. We'll be going green with 20 laps to go. will definitely be a very interesting sprint to the end. We've had a full field start today's race, and we had a bunch of drivers in reserve also, but as we come to the end, the XRRL races continue to be some of the most chaotic. We have lost roughly a third of the drivers today in accidents, and interestingly enough, all the accidents we've had, it's all been like single car incidents. No, there's not been very many like massive multi-car accidents, just everyone has been involved in their own kind of accident and taken themselves out in their own. It's been a very interesting event in that regard. Well, the field's currently all caught up, and I do want to give some credit where credit's due to Ryan Hurricane, who's second in points, and he's worked his way up into fifth. Thing is, and there's the word safety car in this lap, thing is, Hurricane's rival in the points, Danny, is leading the race, so Ryan really needs a miracle to happen if he wants to start closing in on the points cap he has on our current race leader. And here's the thing, Danny has been good today, but he's not been like top 5 of the day good. But all the drivers we saw dominating the early third and the mid third of the race, Trap Paulos, Ollie, Edgar, they've all got knocked back in the field. The only one who's up there in the front still, Lowe crashed out on his own. The only one who dominated and was in the top 5 earlier today is Path. Everyone else who's in the front have not been the drivers we've seen near the front all day long. Already he's making a good job of it. Path and Danny ran away from the rest of the field right at the start, and Zola is going to drop to third. He has Elephant Starfish behind him working, and look at Ryan Hurricane. He's already trying to get by both. Starfish is apparently still not properly connected. Squeaks his way by, and now Trap Paulos is going to follow. Trap is now back on the rear end of Ollie. Edgar is now fighting with that disconnected Haas. Edgar's going to get by them now, and Trap Paulos is going to overtake, is going to fight with Edgar, almost overtook Ollie and then made a mistake, and now he falls into the clutches. Wax, meanwhile, is right there behind Ryan Hurricane trying to make something happen. And Mr. Anderson overtakes Steele for the 10th position. Oh, and there goes Steele, and Steele has just gotten turned off the racetrack. No damage, he didn't hit anything. Well, he hits the wall just a bit, but it looks like he's going to be able to continue, but he falls to the last car on the lead lap. And Zola and Ryan Hurricane are in it in turns 1 and 2, and Hurricane muscles his way past Zola now. He hits him, and Wax hits, and Wax is hit, and Zola is hit. And Wax and Ollie have both been involved in a massive incident. And that plays huge into the hands of Trap and Zola, but now Edgar is fighting with Trap, and now Edgar is going to go up. He got turned by Trap, and Edgar is completely backwards and off the circuit now. And now Trap is up into the 4th position, and there's 5.6 seconds between himself and the leader. Ryan Hurricane has 4.2 seconds between himself and the leader, and Path is 2.5 seconds out from Danny. So Danny right now is putting a small clinic on the field the best he can. That was a hyper KI clap. I could barely keep up with all the stuff that was coming on. Keep it going on. A little bit further back in the field, James Kellen has caught Zola, and Zola is there behind Mr. Anderson. James Kellen right there, he dives to the inside, thinks better of it, falls back in line behind the tracing point. Both of them are keeping touch with Mr. Anderson right now. Again, Mr. Anderson has a very, very small benefit, as does Zola. They're both on medium tires that they can make go hardcore to the end. The top 4 drivers are on softs that they're going to have to conserve just a little bit at the very end of this race. Steele has somehow, despite getting knocked off circuit, has found himself back up into the 8th position. Oh, it's been if Steele can walk out here with any points, I think he's just going to be extremely thankful. This has been a horrible, horrible day for him. Jabaston now has a lot of DRS and is going to jump on the inside of Zola. I did not expect that to happen. I knew he was going to be able to get by Zola, but he did everything he could and has gotten by Anderson. Now Anderson is at risk of losing the position to Zola, and Wax has dropped out. Zola has now lost positions to James Kellen and Mr. Anderson. The Renault factory team is looking to walk out here with a chunk of points, with James in 5th and Trap in 4th. I don't think Zola's done fighting with Anderson. If he can keep within DRS range, he might be able to make something happen to that Ferrari. But it looks to me, at least, that Javis gone is Javis gone right now. I was going to say, Ryan Hurricane has got to be absolutely livid right now. Oh, and someone... That's Edgar. And that's pretty significant front wing damage. Is he going to stay out or is he going to come in? He's going to come in to replace that wing. So Ollie will likely take that position. The car's destroyed. It's ruined. It's ruined. What the heck? What? Okay, game, what? It looked like, so I was right on board with him as he entered the pits, and it looked like the rear of the car tapped the wall, but it wasn't a hard tap. And then I flipped over to Ollie, and then I flipped back to Edgar, and Edgar's car just suddenly hit the outside wall, then turned right into the inside, and completely, it just grinded against it until it destroyed that front suspension. I don't know if that was the game being stupid or anger from the driver or whatever, but Edgar is now out of this race. I'm just going to say right now, BCN is going to end up 11th, and if we have another dropout, BCN, despite being a lap down, might walk out here with points. Ollie's just set the fastest lap time, 1:23.460. If we have another dropout, though, I just want to say this right now. If one more driver drops out, that's not Beastian. Beastian is on hards, but he is in a position that he might come in the last 5 laps or so, throw on some soft tires, and just try and go balls to the wall at the end to get the fastest lap in the top 10. But that's only if another driver drops out. Good job to the Ferraris, the factory Renaults, and the Mercedes. They have kept both of their machines in the race this entire day today somehow. Here comes Zola on another DRS overtake on the inside of Mr. Anderson going through turns 1 and 2. He has DRS again the next straightaway, but he's not close enough to make anything of it yet. This is the only really, truly active battle on the racetrack right now. Everyone in the top 5 are basically conserving their softs so that way they're not burning them up near the very end of the race. And the gap between everyone else is anywhere from 2.5 seconds or more. Also, credit where credit is due. I don't know if Zola is aware of this or not yet, but Mr. Anderson currently has no time penalties against him. Zola does. So, unless something crazy happens, this battle will inevitably go in the favor of Mr. Anderson and the Ferrari. And with the other Ferrari, Ryan Hurricane, currently being 3rd, this will really help Ferrari in the Manufacturers' Championship. But in the Drivers' Championship, though, Danny continues to lead, and if he takes home the win, it's going to just help him massively extend his points lead. Zola has DRS again, but won't do anything going into turns 1 and 2 this time. He will have DRS going on to the second DRS straight, but he's still over 6/10 out, and that straight's just not long enough for him to really make anything happen. So he stays behind the Ferrari for now. Zola has slightly more worn tires and has time penalties against him, so I really do think that in the end that battle will go in the favor of Mr. Anderson. And here comes Beastian. I think Beastian's going to come in now and throw on softs that he'll run into the end of the race. Especially considering how evil those Mercedes have been for those 2 drivers, Steele and Beastian, this entire season. Also, credit's due, Starfish, although he's back there in 10th, he has no penalties currently levied against him, so that's a respectable run. He's not in a position to gain any more spots, but hats off to him for being able to put himself in an area where he doesn't have to worry about losing time due to penalties after the race. Real quickly, as I swap the detail to penalties, Steele still has the most with 12 seconds worth of penalties, but he is still, by default, going to end up ahead of Elephant Starfish. He might lose a position to Ollie, though. Ollie has 9 seconds worth of penalties. Zola and MCR Path both have 6 seconds, and then Trap Paulus and James Gunn both have 3 seconds worth of time penalties. And the battle between Anderson and Zola seems to have pretty much died off. I think Zola has overtaxed those tires enough. He has now fallen to about 1 1/3 seconds out from the Ferrari for right now. So right now, I think the most active battle on track that we need to note of is going to be Ryan Hurricane against MCR Path. If Ryan Hurricane can be within 6 seconds of Path by race in, and Ryan doesn't end up with any more time penalties, Ryan will leapfrog Path and put himself into second. That will help stave off some of the pain of Danny winning the race a bit. And it will help for even more in the Manufacturer Championship. Bastien, time penalty. And he is back in the pits. I'm going to take back what I said earlier. Zola. Steele has crashed, and Steele crashed, and Ollie gets nailed right into Steele, right on the front straightaway. And the two cars are stuck on the front straight. There's a yellow flag, but not a full course yellow. They need a full course yellow for that. The track is blocked. Well, there is no one around, though, but the track is blocked. And Steele spun coming out of the last corner. Ollie had nowhere to go, jumped on the brakes, and Steele slid right into the side pod of Steele. I don't know, but Ollie is going to have a hard time staying on track. He just went way off circuit there and spun around again. He's sideways in turn 2 with the car half on track, half off. And he's having trouble getting the car going. All right, here he is. He's finally moving again. But there's basically no front wing left on that machine. He has to nurse that thing all the way around. And that is the leader, Danny, who is coming up now. Danny doesn't have to worry about it too much. Yep. That was crazy. And now the question is, how bad is the damage on Steele's car? The significant front wing damage, so he will more likely have to pit. Here's the thing, though. Steele has 31 seconds over Starfish, so Steele can probably go ahead, make the stop without too much of an issue. I do want to talk to Ollie, though, because I'm sure he's going to be very, very upset with what happened there. There's a yellow flag in Sector 3, and that's for the Mercedes of Bastien. Bastien is slowed way down now. He's come almost to he's at almost a complete stop. I don't know if he's just trying to let the field by or what. Trying to get Ollie in here. I want to hear what happened from his perspective. Yeah, Bastien's coming into the pits again because there's still front wing damage on that Mercedes. So this is just not going good for Bastien. He is in the top 10 at least, but he is now 2 laps down. It's not looking good for him. Ryan Hurricane is dropping away from Path, and Path is dropping away from Danny. So it's looking like Path may still be able to hold on to second unless something happens to him, because Hurricane is not closing in. Trap Paulos is not closing on Hurricane. No one is closing on each other right now. The gaps between everybody is 3.8 seconds or more at this point. Zola has come into the pits. He's playing on softs, and he's going to go hardcore sucko mode for the fastest lap in these last few circuits of the race. Not had any luck getting word from Ollie here. I'm shocked that the incident that we saw between Steele and Ollie didn't end up bringing out a yellow flag. Steele is currently serving a time penalty right now. And now they've been working on the car. They're going to swap out a new front wing on the machine. He's putting on medium tires, so I wonder if they might have burned through all the softs in that Mercedes team. But Steele is basically locked into an... Yeah, but it looks like Steele is locked into an 8th place position at this point, at least. Oh, 9th. I'm sorry. Starfish does overtake Steele. And he needs to do it without locking up the front tires like he just did there in Sector 2. For Trap Paulos, I'm sure he's absolutely aggravated. He's been by far the fastest guy all day long, but after he made his first pit stop, he's been basically stuck in the midfield, making a lot of moves, but it's just he's not been in a good position all day long. It looks like fourth is probably the best he's going to be at the end of this. We're also at an interesting point because there's only 10 cars left on the race circuit. So because of that, actually, there's a battle that's going to develop here shortly. Steel is closing back in on Elf and Starfish. But Starfish doesn't have any time penalties. Steel does. So I think that battle will still go in Starfish's favor. Weird how we're only left with half the drivers who started the race, but we still have a battle for position here with 6 laps to go in the event. That's not really something I'd expect. Usually when you only have this few cars left on the track, everyone is so spread out that it's just a matter of winding the clocks down and avoiding any further time penalties. Yeah, Steel is most definitely faster than Starfish as well. Ollie's disqualification, I think he's going to be very upset about that because it's dropped him to 20th. Now, he wasn't going to earn any points anyway, but I'm sure Ollie's going to be absolutely fumigating at what happened there, because if the car was truly stuck in second gear like we think it was, then no, he wasn't parked on the track in a dangerous spot. He was parked in the track in the only place the car would be. It wasn't going to move. So he is going to be furious, and I imagine he'll be talking to stewards. Also, I'm sure he'll also probably say something about the fact that Steel can't seem to handle the car, considering that Steel was just stuck right there. Here comes Steel on the inside of Elf and Starfish, going down the straightaway. He will have no problem whatsoever getting by the Haas, who still does not seem to be properly attached to his car in the race lobby. Another lockup from Ryan Hurricane going into turn 3. I think Ryan might be overtaxing his car, pushing a bit too hard, and he's locking up the tires time and time again, because Path is definitely slowing down. The gap between himself and Dan continues to widen, but Hurricane, I think, is just overthinking it, and he's taxing his tires a little bit more than he needs to. He's within the 6-second gap for briefest of moments there, and now he's back outside of it. Back inside of it. Gaps between everyone on track is 3.2 seconds or more. The big question is just going to be who will or will not finish this race in regards to time penalties levied against them. And then to a lesser extent, will Elf and Starfish hold on to 9th, or will that 9th go to Beastian in post-race scrutineering, considering that Starfish has basically been disconnected from the lobby for the entire run. That's Beastian. He's had another crash. Another massive amount of front wing damage. I think it's very, I need to say this right now, and I've been kind of skirting it when I talk to Steel and when I talk to BCN after instance where they DNF, but I think these Mercedes might be a bit too much for both Steel and BCN to control. Nothing against them. They're both fine drivers, but it seems like for whatever reason, the Mercedes are too much power and ability for them to handle, and they seem to lose control of them all the time over almost every circuit we've raced on thus far. And that's kind of the negative counterpart, the downside of having a series where the fastest drivers are put in the slowest cars, the slowest drivers are put in the fastest cars. We see time and time again that some of the faster drivers, like Ultimate, end up pushing material way beyond what it can do, and it kills them. And then we see the slower drivers not being able to adapt to all the speed and all the power at their hands, and just they keep losing control all the time. And we've seen, I think at least we've seen a dozen instances between the two Mercedes, between qualifying and the race today. Like, it's been that extreme. I do believe it absolutely needs to be pointed out. So, something else that's a little interesting, Jabez John is 3 seconds out from Trap Paulus, and Trap Paulus and Jabez both have 3-second penalties. But if Trap ends up with another 3 seconds worth of penalties, Jabez might overtake him. But that all depends on Trap gaining another penalty, which I don't think is super likely to happen. Path, another time penalty. He has now 9 seconds worth of time penalties, and so by default, he will end up behind Ryan Hurricane. And that's Beastian who pulls over. So Beastian, no damage there. He pulled over to let the other drivers by. But yeah, so now Ryan Hurricane by default will finish this race in 2nd position. So good job on Ryan's part, salvaging the day as best as he can, but he will still lose points in the Drivers' Championship compared to our race leader and points leader, Danny JJA02. I myself would nominate Steele for it because although he is in the points-paying positions, he has twice as many point penalty as the next highest person with time penalties against him, so I don't think that speaks very good for him. Not to mention he's been involved in several incidents. I think either Danny or Ryan Hurricane would be deserving of it. Slight mention also to Mr. Anderson, but I think mainly Danny and Ryan Hurricane, considering that neither of them were really contending for even a top 5 position most of this race, but through good positioning of their cars and good strategy, they have avoided all the incidents, and it looks like they're going to finish 1-2. Real quick, Beastian's 3 laps down. Is he going to be able to actually complete the 90% mark for this race? Because I don't think he will. So I think Beastian might not earn any points either. He will? Okay. Okay, yeah, so he's good. Alright. Alright. Well, Danny coming out of Sector 1 for last time today. Real quickly, looking at the fastest laps of the day. Danny and MCR Path and Zola all the fastest, with the absolute fastest currently being Zola, 124.016. Now, Danny, if he can, on this lap, if he can beat that time, he would do it. But here's the thing: everyone in the top 4 are nursing soft tires to the end, so I don't see that's happening. So I think Zola is likely going to get the point for fastest lap of the day. Here comes Mr. Anderson, and this is a great day for Ferrari in the Manufacturers' Championship, finishing 2nd and 6th. Very, very good for them, as Mr. Anderson will cross the line now. Zola still has a few penalties against him, but Zola is so far away from everyone else, it's really not going to matter. That was a rough race, but hey, at least in some way, Kinsey, you were able to stick around for the entirety of it, even if it wasn't behind the wheel of a race car. I'd say either Danny or Ryan Hurricane. I think both of them are very valid options for it. Also, I do want to say for Path, although he did start relatively well and kind of finished where he was going to start, Williams definitely had a very, very rough day in general today, and he was able to come back to 3rd. So I do want to give a thumbs up to Path on that. I'm going to try and get Danny while you go ahead. Can you go ahead and run down the finishing order? Stand by for 1 second, Danny. Keep going, Kinsey. All right, real quickly here in the broadcast booth with us, we have the race winner, Danny. Danny, you were basically nowhere near the top 5 in the first third of the race. How did you pull a win out of that? Well, you did a good job, and I at least feel that either you or Ryan Hurricane are very serious contenders for Driver of the Day. You also were able to extend your points lead over your championship rival, Ryan Hurricane, who finished 2nd today as well, so good job on that. All right, well, good job, Danny. Real quick question. What are your expectations for you and your team going into Singapore in a week's time? All right. Well, big dreams and hopefully big talent to match it from your race winner and points leader, Danny. Once again, congratulations on the victory. All right. Well, Kinsey, I want to thank you once again for doing a impromptu joining here in the commentary box. Like I said before, I absolutely love it when I can share the booth with you or just listen to you because you got that classic British style to that commentary that I absolutely love. So thank you very much for being willing to join us. It's kind of a shame, though, that you end up spending most of the day here and not actually fighting on track. And then we don't really, at least last I checked, I don't really know what the status is going to be on who is or is not broadcasting the X2 race, which will be at 8 p.m. UK time. All the events will be in Australia. You could see Kinsey, you could see me, you could see someone else doing the coverage for X2. We won't know until we're closer to that point right now. So, but we will, depending on whoever style you like more, you can check us out tomorrow. Tune into X3 because X3 has more interesting racing, in my opinion. I'm not saying that because I broadcast for them. Like, I honestly do love the X3 racing. But anyways, that's going to pretty much let us wrap up the broadcast here today. Tomorrow, X1, X2, X3. Once again, I want to thank you, Kinsey, for joining us, and thank the entirety of XRL and Zola, who helps host the XRRL series. We'll be seeing you in a week's time here at Singapore for the Realistic Leagues. Until then, farewell.